If you are over 40 and starting to feel weaker, slower, or less energetic, you are not imagining it. But the biggest mistake people make is blaming it on age. What if I told you that your body is not breaking down because of your years? It is shutting down because of your signals. Muscle loss after 40 is not just a matter of getting older. It is your biology reacting to something deeper, something you may be doing every single day without realizing it. And the consequences are not just physical. Muscle loss affects your metabolism, your posture, your brain clarity, and even how you emotionally respond to stress. What most people do not know is that sarcopenia, the technical term for age-related muscle loss, begins in your 30s, often without a single symptom. You do not feel it until it is already affecting how you walk, think, and recover. And here is the scary part. By the time you notice it, you have already lost the strength that protects your brain, your bones, and your independence. But here is where the story changes. Research now shows that this process is not only reversible, it can be slowed, stopped, and even turned back using science-backed tools that reset the way your body builds muscle. This video is not just another Get Fit After 40 list. We are going to explore the real biological levers, the ones that control whether your body builds or breaks down muscle as you age. You will learn the 4 most common but overlooked triggers that accelerate muscle loss and, more importantly, how to fix them. We are going deep into how your nervous system, your hormones, your training signals, and even your sleep patterns tell your body what to do with your muscles. So if you want to not only feel stronger, but also stay mentally sharp, metabolically active, and physically capable as you age, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to rebuild what age has tried to take naturally, scientifically, and powerfully. And the most surprising part, you do not need more time. You just need better signals. In this video, we are going to unpack 4 powerful insights that reveal why your body is losing muscle after 40 and what you can do to reverse it. First, we will look at how your nervous system plays a hidden role in muscle decline. Most people focus only on exercise or protein, but ignore the fact that muscle is controlled by neural activation, and without the right brain to muscle connection, the tissue simply does not respond. Second, we will break down the hormonal shifts that quietly erode your strength, especially when stress, poor sleep, or inflammation disrupt your body's anabolic signals like testosterone and growth hormone. These hormones do not just drop with age, they drop because your daily rhythm is off. Third, we will explore how your daily movement, or lack of it, sends powerful messages to your biology. When your muscles are not challenged with intensity and resistance, your body assumes you no longer need them. And finally, we will dive into recovery, the most overlooked phase of muscle health. Because without deep, consistent recovery, your body cannot repair or grow muscle tissue, no matter how hard you train. Each of these 4 areas, neural activation, hormonal rhythm, mechanical stimulation, and recovery, forms a pillar of muscle maintenance and restoration. And the science shows that when even one of them is off, your muscle system begins to shut down. But the good news is this: all 4 of these can be reactivated naturally, effectively, and at any age. Most people think muscles are purely mechanical. You lift something, the muscle contracts, and that is it. But that could not be further from the truth. Muscle is driven by your nervous system. Every movement you make, whether it is lifting a bag, climbing stairs, or even just standing up, begins in your brain. Specifically, the motor cortex sends electrical signals down your spinal cord through motor neurons and into the muscle fibers. This process is called neuromuscular activation, and it is the key to keeping muscle tissue alive. When that communication weakens, the muscle starts to shut down. Now, here is what the research shows. One of the first things to decline with age is not just muscle strength, but motor unit recruitment. That means your brain is no longer calling upon all the fibers it used to activate. And when those fibers do not get stimulated, they stop responding, they shrink, they weaken, and eventually they die off. A study from the University of Western Ontario found that adults over 60 who were sedentary had dramatically lower neural firing rates during muscle contractions compared to active adults of the same age. That means it is not the muscle itself that is aging. It is the signal that tells the muscle what to do. So how do you fix that? You begin by retraining the connection between your brain and your body. And this does not require fancy equipment. A simple tool is to slow down your resistance training, perform each repetition with full attention to how the muscle feels. This is called intentional tempo training, and it forces your nervous system to engage more motor units. Another effective tool is eccentric loading, emphasizing the lowering phase of each movement, which neurologically challenges the muscle to stay under control. You can also use unilateral training, working one side of the body at a time, to wake up dormant neural pathways. Even just 10 to 15 minutes a day of focused, deliberate resistance work can restore brain to muscle communication that has been lost for years. The key is presence. If you are mentally distracted, going through the motions, or rushing the reps, you are missing the chance to send strong signals. But when you train with intent, especially using slower, more controlled movements, you are not just working the muscle, you are upgrading the wiring that controls it. Over time, this neural stimulation reactivates dormant muscle fibers and slows the progression of sarcopenia. The takeaway here is simple but powerful. If you are losing muscle, do not just ask what exercises you should do. Ask what your nervous system is paying attention to, because muscle loss after 40 often begins in the brain, not in the biceps. And the good news is that neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to adapt and rewire, is still active later in life. You just have to give it a reason to engage. Start with deliberate movement, slow repetitions, and deep mental focus. That alone can begin to reverse what age and neglect have taken. The second major reason people lose muscle after 40 has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with hormones. Specifically, the rhythm and timing of how your body produces and responds to anabolic signals. Hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, insulin like growth factor, and even cortisol play central roles in whether your body builds or breaks down muscle tissue. But these hormones do not operate on demand. They follow circadian rhythms that are shaped by your behavior. What most people do not realize is that when your sleep is fragmented, when your stress is constant, and when your light exposure is irregular, your hormone production begins to drift out of alignment. And when that drift happens, your muscles stop receiving the growth signals they depend on to maintain strength. For example, testosterone, a key anabolic hormone in both men and women, is highest in the early part of the day. But if you go to bed late, wake up groggy, and skip morning light exposure, your peak production drops. Similarly, growth hormone, which helps with repair and muscle synthesis, is secreted during deep sleep. And if your sleep is disrupted by blue light, alcohol, or irregular schedules, your body never enters the states it needs to rebuild. The result, you train, you eat, you try to recover, but the hormonal environment simply is not there to support muscle growth. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that even short-term sleep restriction in healthy adults significantly reduced testosterone levels and impaired muscle repair. And chronic low-level stress, which keeps cortisol elevated, adds another layer, breaking down tissue, reducing anabolic signals, and interfering with protein synthesis. So what can you do to reset this system? Begin by restoring your circadian rhythm. One simple but powerful tool is to expose your eyes to natural sunlight within the first hour of waking. This anchors your internal clock and improves hormonal timing. Aim for at least 10 minutes of morning light or up to 30 if the sky is overcast. Next, guard your sleep environment, eliminate blue light exposure at least 90 minutes before bed, use blackout curtains, keep the room cool, and stay consistent with your sleep. Wake time even on weekends. These behaviors do more than help you feel rested. They give your body the biological conditions to build muscle. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. There is much more science-backed content like this coming every week. Finally, use breath work or even brief daily stillness to bring cortisol down. A simple box breathing technique. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Practiced for 5 minutes a day can calm your nervous system and shift your body back into an anabolic state. Hormonal balance is not just about boosting testosterone or taking supplements. It is about realigning your body with its natural rhythm. When you give your hormones the right timing, the right signals, and the right recovery, they begin to support the strength you are trying to build. And this is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Over time, even small shifts in rhythm create powerful changes in how your body responds to training, stress, and sleep. If you have been struggling to build or maintain muscle after 40, do not overlook the internal timing systems that control your biology, because hormones are not broken. They are simply waiting for a better signal. The third factor that drives muscle loss after 40 is mechanical understimulation. In other words, your muscles are not receiving the signal to grow. And that signal is not philosophical. It is physical. Muscles are adaptive tissue. They do not grow just because you want them to. They grow in response to force, resistance, and intensity. And when those stressors disappear from your daily life, your biology begins to downsize the very tissue that keeps you strong. The problem is that modern life rarely challenges muscle the way it evolved to be challenged. You sit, you move in predictable ways, and even when you exercise, you may be doing just enough to stay active, but not enough to trigger real muscular growth. What the science shows is this intensity, not just movement, is the key. A landmark study published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise revealed that older adults who trained with heavier resistance, even just 2 times per week, maintained significantly more muscle mass than those who only walked or did cardio-based exercise. Why? Because the signal to build was clear. The muscle was placed under mechanical tension, and the nervous system responded by strengthening the tissue. The principle here is called progressive overload. Your muscles adapt only when you increase the challenge. That does not mean lifting maximal weights. It means increasing either the resistance, the number of repetitions, the time under tension, or the complexity of the movement. It also means using compound exercises, movements that engage multiple joints and muscle groups like squats, lunges, rows, and presses. These generate more mechanical and neurological stimulation than isolated machine-based movements. A simple tool you can use is what researchers call training to near failure. This means choosing a resistance or body weight movement and performing it until you are within 1 or 2 repetitions of your limit, where your form breaks down, or you cannot continue with control. This level of effort tells your body clearly and directly that strength is still required. Without it, your biology assumes you no longer need muscle and begins the process of shrinking it to conserve energy. Another overlooked signal is movement variability. When you only train in one plane, forward, backward, or linear, your muscles lose the ability to stabilize, rotate, and support real-life activity. Include movements that challenge balance, rotation, and full body control to maintain not just mass, but functional strength. And remember, intensity is not the same as pain. You do not need to suffer to grow. You need to focus. Use controlled form, progressive resistance, and intentional challenge. Over time, your muscles will adapt, grow, and protect you, not just physically, but metabolically, because muscle is one of the most metabolically active tissues in your body. It improves blood sugar regulation, supports brain health, reduces injury risk, and enhances mitochondrial function, the engines of your cells. If you neglect intensity, you lose more than size. You lose power, stability, and vitality. But when you return mechanical load to your life in the right way, at the right level, your body remembers how to respond. It starts rebuilding from the inside out. The lesson here is simple. If you want to reverse muscle loss, you must stop sending your body the message that muscle is optional, because your biology is always listening. If training is the stimulus, then recovery is the response. And this final piece is where most people fall short. The truth is, muscle is not built while you are lifting weights or doing squats. It is built afterward in the quiet, often overlooked hours of rest, sleep, and restoration. Without proper recovery, your body cannot synthesize new muscle tissue, regulate hormones, or repair micro damage in the muscle fibers. And here is the kicker: if you are over 40, your recovery system is less forgiving. That means what used to work in your 20s may now lead to fatigue, stagnation, or even injury. Recovery is not a passive process. It is a physiological phase where inflammation is cleared, proteins are rebuilt, and your nervous system shifts into a parasympathetic state. Without this state, your body stays in survival mode, high in cortisol, low in growth factors, and unable to repair. A study in the journal Sleep found that even a single night of poor sleep reduced muscle protein synthesis in healthy adults. This means your body stops building muscle when recovery is compromised. So what does quality recovery look like in practical terms? First, prioritize deep, consistent sleep. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Avoid screens and artificial light 90 minutes before sleep, and create a cool, dark environment. This alone improves hormone regulation and nighttime muscle repair. Second, include active recovery days in your routine, movement that increases circulation without causing additional stress. Walking, gentle mobility work, or light cycling helps reduce stiffness and improve nutrient delivery to recovering tissues. Third, fuel your body for recovery. Consuming adequate high-quality protein, especially within 2 hours after training, supports muscle rebuilding. Research also shows that getting enough magnesium, omega, rich fats, and electrolytes helps reduce inflammation and improve muscle responsiveness. And perhaps most important of all, learn to listen to your body's signals. When your nervous system is constantly in overdrive, it will show up as disrupted sleep, persistent soreness, mental fog, or emotional burnout. These are not signs of weakness. They are signals to downshift. Use simple techniques like deep diaphragmatic breathing or guided relaxation before bed to shift into the rest and repair mode your muscles require. Recovery is not a reward, it is a requirement. It is the biological phase where all the benefits of your effort get locked in. And if this idea is resonating with you, consider subscribing. This channel is here to help you build a strong, sharp, and resilient body for life, because your ability to gain or maintain muscle after 40 depends on more than how hard you train. It depends on how well you recover. Strength without recovery is just stress, but the strength with recovery is transformation. And the best part, recovery is something you can control every night, every day. Every time you choose restoration over depletion, that is the real growth. If you have made it this far, you now understand that muscle loss after 40 is not just a matter of age. It is a matter of signals. The body listens to what you tell it through your habits, your environment, and your nervous system. When those signals are strong, consistent, and aligned with biology, your muscles respond even later in life. We began with the brain-muscle connection, the neural activation that powers every movement you make. When your nervous system stops engaging the full range of motor units, your muscle begins to decline, not from weakness, but from disuse. But through intentional, focused movement and slower, deliberate reps, you can reawaken those connections and rebuild the communication channels that keep your muscle alive. Then we explored hormonal rhythms, how testosterone, growth hormone, and other anabolic messengers rely on deep sleep, circadian light cues, and stress regulation to do their job. Without these rhythms, the muscle building environment shuts down. But with daily morning light, consistent sleep timing, and simple breath work, you can restore the internal conditions that support growth and repair. Next, we examine the importance of mechanical load, how muscle tissue only grows when challenged. Intensity, progressive overload, and movement variability are not just for athletes. They are essential biological triggers that tell your body to keep its strength. You do not need to lift heavy every day. You just need to challenge your muscles with control, focus, and consistency. And finally, we looked at recovery, the most underestimated part of the process. Without deep rest, proper nutrients, and a parasympathetic reset, all the effort you put in will not translate into results. Recovery is not optional. It is the space where adaptation becomes real. What all of these points to is a simple, powerful truth. Your muscle is not just a physical structure. It is a reflection of how well your biology is being supported. And muscle is not about vanity. It is about vitality. It stabilizes your joints, regulates your metabolism, supports your brain, and protects you from frailty. Losing it is not an inevitability. It is a choice we make through neglect or misalignment. But the choice to rebuild it is just as available. Starting today, you can restore neural connections, reset hormonal rhythm, reintroduce meaningful challenge, and reclaim your right to recover. That is not just reversing muscle loss. That is reversing the biological clock. If this video gave you clarity, motivation, or practical tools, I invite you to like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. This community is growing fast, and every week we bring grounded, science-driven insights that help you build a better brain, a stronger body, and a longer, sharper life. Leave a comment below and let us know which part of this message resonated most. Was it the neural connection, the hormonal shift, the training principle, or the recovery phase? Your feedback helps us shape the next video. Until then, remember, age does not decide how strong you stay, your signals do. And the signal to grow starts now.